I'm Kivanshi with So There's That podcast.
Hi, Kivanshi. So there's that.
Hi, Tenika.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm very good, very good. Thank you.
Okay, so I have to open this up. We have Michonne, we have Achillia, we have Egozi, and now we have Achillia.
Yes.
So when you got that call, like, what was that like knowing that you are about to be one of the newest Black women warriors in this universe and in such a beloved franchise?
Well, I knew when I got the audition, something inside of me was like, you just have a deep knowing that this role is meant for you. And the funny thing is, I actually did the audition and someone else was cast in the part. So it's one of those things where it took an extreme amount of faith to be able to let it go and trust universe, God, whatever you want to call it, that what's meant for you is meant for you. So I was living in the Caribbean and got that call that they had gone back in my direction for the show and that they wanted me to play Achillia. And when that happened, it was just an affirmation and a confirmation of that knowing inside that this was meant for me. And you better believe I was going to give every part of my heart, my soul, my strength, all of that to this character, because she is the first Black female character to be scripted in television to play a gladiatrix.
Yes, it's incredible. And it's so amazing that you talked about like just giving your all, because episode 2 is very intense. And Achillia is challenged in a way that just is gut wrenching and jaw dropping. So, what was the mental, emotional, and physical prep that you had to do to kind of deliver that much desperation during that scene in the sands at the house?
Well, in that moment, I think anyone who has been through a really, really difficult, grueling struggle knows what it feels like to have hit a wall, a breaking point. And in that moment, I believe that Achillia had a decision to make. How was I going to take this terrible thing that's happening and break through and prove to myself that I can be resilient in a really terribly challenging circumstance? And I remember, the castmates that I had in that scene with me, those other lovely gentlemen, they also had struggles wondering whether it was okay to bring all their intensity. Wanting to defend a woman, I said, guys, this is a part in our journey where we get to tell what happens to somebody who's in that place. And I need you to bring all your intensity so that I can bring mine. So we had that agreement with each other. And what allowed us to be able to prep and really bring it to the depths that it was the fact that we felt comfortable with each other to be able to go to those places and then carry on with work afterwards.
It was incredible. Honestly, I held my jaw for like 5 minutes after the scene, because not only just the intensity of what was happening, but just the delivery and just all of the things that Achillia is holding kind of coming out in like a scream on film.
Right.
And so just the power that you're bringing to a character, but also that vulnerability and that softness. Another one of my favorite scenes is the kind of like fight conversation with Ashur, where we're pushing and we're trying to get to like that core. What is the thing that drives you? So what was that like when you were playing this with Nick and really trying to convey that emotion of like holding it? I don't want to tell you I'm vulnerable, especially as Black women, we gotta be strong.
Yeah.
But then finally just resigning and being like, I failed. what was that like? Like, how did you guys play that scene, and what was going on with you mentally as you were kind of approaching all of that, especially just with your background in life?
Well, we knew that it was a powerful moment. And I think you mentioned, being a Black female. This is basically what it is. I think not just a Black female, but a person that has had to struggle against something. Struggle, whether it be internal or external circumstances, having that thing that is holding you back, that you just can't seem to put words to, that you're too afraid to express because you don't want other people to look at you a ways or feel, judge you or criticize you. And I think that's what prepared me for that moment, because I know what that feels like inside. And the thing is, the beauty of Spartacus is they allowed us to, have that fight. And it is a bit of a metaphor for the fight that we have inside when we're not able to fully express the thing that's hurting us so much and holding us back. And so Nick and I, when we went through that sort of thing, he had no problem coming at me. It's just, sometimes you get words, people will say things to you and it's triggering. So that was her trigger that she was physically experiencing in that moment. And when he finally knocked me to the ground so that I had no choice but to break open and express that vulnerability, I feel like that's also a parallel for what it takes in life to be able to break through some of those moments. We sometimes have to hit that up against a wall to be able to express the truth of what's really happening. And then we get our breakthrough and the hero story continues.
It does. And just speaking of heroes, just my last question, like, what did you feel when you saw yourself walk into that arena with everybody like watching you? Because for me, I was just like, oh, like you said, this is the first gladiatrix. What was it like for you seeing yourself in your purpose?
Uh, to be honest, it was terrifying. Like, yes, I looked around and, I feel like you always have the surreal moment where you're like, okay, this is happening. And then there's your experience internally, watching yourself be in that moment where it's happening. So looking around and seeing all of those people, if I had stayed focused on myself, I wouldn't have been able to get the job done. So I really had to look at what is happening here. What element of this team am I a part of? What does Achillia need to express her truth in this moment? So that energy that I had, with all those people screaming and yelling and giving, all of their energy in that moment, I used that to fuel me to be able to get that job done, not just for myself, but for everybody that was there. And I believe that we created something very special in that moment.
It was incredible and it was powerful. And, we got to see the first 5 episodes and just kind of watching that journey and that struggle, but also watching her kind of reach across to people that we wouldn't necessarily think
Right.
that she would, because Ashur is a traitor, but it's Ashur and it's something that she sees of herself in him and vice versa, that's able to kind of like unlock and unleash that unyielding belief that he has that she's
So
going to change.
specifically, what you're saying there, Ashur and Achillea's journey, they're parallel to each other.
Hmm.
They're both outsiders and they're both underdogs. And I think that's the reason why he sees something in her, because it is a part of himself that he's seeing through this Achillea character that has the potential to be goddess of death, powerful, strong, resilient, all of these things, but has something holding them back. And is a part of a world that, frankly, to be honest, doesn't want her.
Hmm.
And in the same respect, Ashur, as the Syrian, is trying to infiltrate Roman society and be seen as an equal. And it's a world that doesn't want him. So both of them are going through that same sort of struggle. And I feel as though the way that it's written in the show, you end up feeling for them both as a person that you can identify with who is trying to survive in a world by any means necessary that is brutal.
Well, thank you. You summed that up so perfectly. And thank you so much for just lending your time to me this morning. Achillia is incredible, and I cannot wait for everybody to see this in December.
Thank you so much for taking
Thank
the
you.
time. Respect.